I've been around for a little bit studying spirituality, philosophy, um, neurolinguistic programming, all kinds of inner work. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I stumble on this guy, Dr. Wayne Carr from Seattle, who for me, I'd just like to say is the real deal, who's got such a great, rich tapestry of history in terms of all the above that I mentioned: spirituality, psychology, philosophy, all in one. And I just really am delighted to be here in the presence. We run groups together, a men's group on a Monday night, and I'm here with Dr. Wayne Carr. And so, Wayne, I want to say hi to you and a
Hello.
big sense of enormous gratitude for who you are, for what you do, what you believe in, but more importantly, how you embody. I think that there's a lot of people that talk, but not many people talk the talk or walk the walk. And for me, you are like, I don't want to put too much smoke in the area. There shouldn't be smoke, but I want to welcome to this chat that we decided to have a kind of fairly informal chat. And I'm kind of curious about you, where you came from, what triggered you into being doing the inner work and wanting to share it with others. So I'm going to hand over the floor to you and say, thank you and welcome to this space that we created together.
Thank you. Yeah, and as you talked to me, a lot of images from my past came up in my path, and I look at that, and one of the first things that comes to me is the questioning. Growing up to question things, to question everything, to not accept, and I don't know if that was taught or just naturally in me, but to always look at things and say, is it true? Is it not? To really ask questions and become interested in the nature of things and not just accept. Um, and also to not know. So to really um, have the space to look at things. And you talked about embodiment. So to can I don't know how early this happened, but the question is, can I be authentic about my looking? Can I be brutally honest when I look at my path, when I look at the truth, when I really try to find out? So it's about not believing so much. It's about finding out and continuing to find out. And so sort of a spiral upward of finding out and digesting and but coming from a place of being and to I like the phrase doing my being, to do who I am, which means I have to come from a place of embodiment because who I am and incorporates my body, incorporates my sensations, incorporates everything. But if I lose touch with my body, my core feelings, my animal nature, my biological nature, then I get stuck in a way in ideas and maybe hyper spirituality. So for me, it's about discovery, bringing together the spiritual aspects of life, the physical aspects of life, the intellectual aspects of life, to not leave anything out, to a full spectrum awareness, a full spectrum way of being, a full spectrum way of becoming. So I like the concept of being, belonging, and becoming. So
One thing that we hear a lot these days, when we're endlessly scrolling, is the word authenticity, and it's like, what does that mean for you? Like coming back to yourself, to like where? How do we know we're in a sense of authenticity?
yeah. So my approach is to look from a place of not knowing, like, okay, I have ideas of what authenticity is, but I look first. What is I ask myself the question, what is authenticity? And in many levels, I don't know what authenticity is, but I learn. And sometimes I don't know how to be authentic, and that's being authentic. I don't know how to be authentic sometimes. But as I look at it and drop down and practice to become a better spokesman for my authentic self and to deepen my own sense of self so that I can speak from those parts of myself, that's authenticity. And when I am in a state, I'm willing to discover myself in your presence. I'm willing to deepen myself in your presence because authenticity is not a static state. It's something that keeps on expanding moment to moment. How can I be even more authentic? How can I explore? Again, coming from this place of like, I don't know, but I look. I don't know, but I look. So,
Amazing. Yeah, I think I love that kind of inner world of, like also the internal battles that we have, that we've discussed at many points. Um, so authenticity, I also really like the fact that, that you taught me how to speak from the I perspective in our groups that we hold. For me, there's something magical. Often when we talk about subject matter, we go outwards and say, yeah, why do people do that? And instead of like, being part of that question. And when we hold these groups, it's like, I don't know, out of all the things I've done, it's like that's really where the magic happens. So I think I'm guessing and certainly my experience from being authentic is the sense of being able to let down the mask, being able to be real without fear, connecting with other people, and something magic happens, where the real sense of connecting through who we are rather than what we're trying to be. Um, is that your experience?
yeah, there's always the temptation to go into our facade, to go into our image, to create an image to give to the other person. And I think we all need that to some degree. We all need our facade at times to time, from time to time, and to have a healthy facade. And also being willing to recognize that that's not really me. That's just a tool that I use sometime. And when I play certain roles, because we all have to play certain roles in society, we can't be absolutely open hearted to every person on the street. We have to manage our boundaries and then to know when it's safe to really let it bow down. And again, can I at least put a little bit of my authentic self in everything I do?
Mm.
Can I at least put me in everything I do? And that's the challenge because it's so easy. We're taught not to do that. So, which means in order to do that, I have to drop down into my body, into my feeling, with an open mind to discover what arises in myself. So, again, it's a process of discovering, coming from not knowing and finding out, well, what am I feeling now? What's arising now? And how can I say that to you? And how can I say that to myself? And also realize that there's parts that I'm not in touch with yet, or parts that are frozen, there are parts that are still in shadow, and be willing to see that and be willing to share that too. Oh, I'm not aware of that. I need to look at that. I'm blocked now. I have an impasse there. So that's part of authenticity. But the more I brutally honest, I don't, maybe the word brutal is not a good word. Just really deeply, honestly honest, earnestly honest, to really keep looking.
Yeah, that's a great subject. Like a question: can I even be honest with myself? I know that we talked about the overdog and the underdog, and it's kind of it seems to me like that polarity, is in every scripture. The Bhagavad Gita, where the two cousins are meeting on the battleground, and it
Mm,
strikes me as that's the internal battle, the yin, the yang, the internal battle, the two wolves fighting in Buddhism. I think it seems from the outside that you've done a great job in marrying the two forces together for a united front, which I think is humanity's biggest struggle. I don't know. What do you think?
Interesting way of putting it. Yeah. Yes. When I look inside, there are battles going on and there is unity going on. There's always a constant process of integration of two sides coming together, competing and cooperating. And so I think that's the nature of life and actually the nature of the universe, this sense of competition and cooperation. And if we think, oh, it all has to be cooperation, I think that's BS. Everything competes. If you look at life, there's competition going on everywhere and there's cooperation going on everywhere. And both are necessary to incorporate both and to look at both and to give it a bigger space to look at that. It's the space in which this process of what I would call aliveness. It's this competition cooperation which creates aliveness, a cutting edge by which I can grow. And so
Yeah, it's really interesting, observing that kind of polarity. And one thing, it's like, how do you work on triggers? Like, for instance, we've all got patterns at work coming from the subconscious and the shadow that from our formative years. I certainly had many, which made me, really switchable in terms of my anger. Um, how do you, when you're about to be triggered, and how do you go into consciousness at that point, instead of, being reactive, we become proactive? Have you got any tips on how to do that?
I think everybody gets triggered. I think even Buddha got triggered. I think, we have these idealized versions of these gurus and avatars and spiritual teachers, but they're human. And so the question is, do I have space enough to see that I'm triggered? Because who's at the steering wheel? Is it this younger part of the steering wheel and who's taking over? Or can I have enough space to see, yeah, there's a part of me that wants the steering wheel, that really wants something that's an old pattern. It's maybe ingrained. And can I give it enough space where it has a seat at the table, but it doesn't have the steering wheel, and I can give it love and listen to it and give it what it needs so it can soften and loosen and sort of reprogram to update itself. All these triggering things are based on parts that never got updated, that never got updated on what's actually going on in the world. So we see the world through these old filters. And if that's all we have, then we operate according to a reality box that's 7 years old or 3 years old, so. And to be stuck in that is really tragic. And I think life is always trying to kick our ass in a way to wake us up, sometimes with pleasure, sometimes with pain, to really say, "Hey, your reality box is obsolete," and to look at that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I've through working with you and my own work, I've really observed that, that moment of trigger, and having
Mhm.
that choice of, do I go back into the history and react from a historical point of view, or from a renewed point of view, which brings, a whole opening to the universe. I think the Kabbalahs talk about that sort of, the operating level on the Malchut, the lowly level, and with the consciousness, we open to the Sphirot, the all the essence, the energies of the universe. I like also
Precisely.
when you say show up as you are. We do the men's group on a Monday night, and it's like, it's show up as you are. I mean, for me, it just is it's a great relief. We don't have to be, we can just be exactly, dump ourselves down on the chair, just like let our shoulders go. Like, I've had a bad day, but that's part of who you are right now. I love this showing up as you are. And I'm also interested in, like, a little bit of history about you. Where did the burning desire come from to want to help people? And
Mm.
can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, first of all, showing up as I am, um, I think it's our true nature, and I think it's trained out of us. But we live in a world that it's life when it's hurt. We don't grow up with safe parents. We don't grow up in a safe community. Our ecosystem is full of pain and hurt. So we grow up full of pain and hurt because we're part of an ecosystem. So to show up as we are means I'm willing to create a safe space. Safety is number one. If I don't feel safe, nothing can happen. And to do that in relationship, I have to feel safe in relationship to myself and with others and with the world and with God, so to speak. So to keep bringing that in to re-look at the world, yeah, it's really safe out there. There's dangers, but if I really stay clear and centered, that I can perceive the dangers accurately and precisely and act accordingly. And the second part of your question was how do my own personal history about how to show up. So, hmm.
And also, like, where was the burning desire to kind of give back to
Oh,
society?
okay. Um, I think it's in every, of course, it's in everyone. It's our nature to give back. And of course, I think as one gets older, as I get older, the desire to take what we have and to give back becomes more and more important. So, to really tune into something that's already there, something that's already the case, the desire to give back, because that's who we are. That's what the heart is about. That we've learned to close off our hearts, and rightfully so, but to really respect the protections we've given our hearts and to gradually loosen them and develop new concept realities so that we can open our hearts and give and receive the incredible pleasure of giving and and the incredible pleasure of receiving, so that in relationship it's this dance of giving and receiving, and this, you could call it love, but there's a giving and receiving on in multiple levels, and with God, with the universe, with nature, with ourselves, with our mate, in our relationships, this constant dance of giving and receiving, in addition to cooperation and competition. That happens too.
And I love the fact that you're working not entirely or specifically, but you do a lot of work, especially on our platform, with men. Um, what do you think men, if we're going to general, I'm not a big fan of generalizing, but what do you think men specifically need right now?
Yeah. Well, I think generalizations are necessary, because if all you can do is give specifics and not really look at the general picture, in a way, I need to look at a higher elevation to see the entire forest, to see the entire landscape. Those are generalizations. But what do men need? My first response is, what the hell do I know? But that's the starting point. And I think to have that starting point, I don't know, but I look. I don't know, but I look. And the first thing is, what do I need as a man? And then what do I, looking at other men? Um, hmm, what comes to me is men and myself need to feel in more and more into our own nature. that we have a male nature that we're born with. Of course, it's affected by our conditioning in the roles and all the toxic masculinity roles that are forced down our throats, and that we see these really bad models. But even underneath there, there's a deeper nature that's independent of that that I think can be accessed. What is my true nature as a man? And can I gradually let it come forth? And can I let it inhabit me as a man and explore that and update it so that it becomes relevant to the world, so that I can be in the world as a man who is an agent who can make a change. And I think that's part of the masculine energy. Of course, women have masculine energy too, of course, but to be an agent in the world, to make a change, um, to bring together community, but also, hmm, I don't know, there's like to explore the mystery. I think there will always be a mystery in what it is to be masculine and to be a man. And so I think another thing men need to be with is this ever growing, expanding mystery to find out what does it mean to be a man, but to feel it in to embody that, to feel it in my cells, to feel it in all aspects of who I am, and to ground it, and then to put it in relationship to the feminine. And, and yeah. And also that there is a place that even transcends masculinity and femininity, and a larger space to allow the larger space for the masculine and the feminine to flourish, to be known, to grow, to evolve. But I like the sense of the space but whereby I'm a male, to really dwell in that space and not just got to get caught up in what is it to be a man, but what's the space in which I am a man, and can I explore that? So,
Nice. I mean, statistically speaking, there's more men incarcerated. One of the biggest killers in men is suicide. There's more men on the street. It seems men have a big struggle. I'm not saying more of a struggle, I'm saying a big struggle. And I'm wondering if it's because they don't let down the mask. Their ego is keeping the mask firmly fixed more than, let's say, the feminine. I mean, where are you with that concept?
yes, that this concept, in order to be a man, I cannot show my weakness. If I show my weakness, I'm not a man. Um, and yet, to be a man, I really need to be able to own my weakness, that I have two poles. I have a strong pole and I have a weak pole. If I get stuck in the strong pole, it doesn't work if I get stuck in the weak pole. So I'm a combination of strength and weakness, and realize that both are absolutely necessary to be a man. And that men in today's world, it's basically, especially in the US, and fatherless. Men need, and women too, orientation. And we have so many damaged men who misorientate their sons, so that we grow up disoriented, misoriented, and yet we have this really, really strong need for orientation, and we don't get it. We get crappy models. But I see that as a fundamental need from the very beginning, the need for orientation, and we don't get it. Oh, and this terrible, we get these fathers that are patriotic, violent, moralistic, that, and men get that shoved down their throats, and sometimes they can never recover. Or it takes other men, honest men, to help them break that down and recover, because it's really hard when you get this so much crap shoved down your throat.
Yeah, yeah, it can be tough being a man.
Yeah.
Um, and the first step, I think, for me is just being aware, just being a little bit aware of, like, what the program is that's running within us. And I think that I personally believe that underneath us, we've all got the essence. And I think what your specialist field is bringing people through the layers back to their essence, of which I've never met anybody who does it as skillfully and gently as you. So I'm thinking that we should end this little
Okay.
first interview for now, because I think we've covered a lot of space. I also want to say that if anybody wants to find you, they can find you on our platform on a Monday night. You're also in the new year going to be doing a couples, which I'm really excited about. Awakened couples or awakened relationships. So anybody who's interested in bringing the masculine and the feminine together, or just discussing
Hmm.
those kind of concepts, we do it live. It's interactive, and our regular men's group on a Monday night. But they also can find you privately on a
Yes.
one-to-one session.
Beautiful. And I look forward to that, to really, for those of you who really want to take a deep dive and to really find out what's possible, to push the envelope and to stand on the shoulders of other men, to really expand the envelope of what it really means to be a man. So
Yeah, and I'm hoping that we're going to do a couple of retreats sometime next year in Portugal too, that we can discuss and publicize through the platform too. So I'm excited about our work together. I'm really feel so blessed that we found each other. I found you, and I'm sending you lots of love, Wayne, and thank you
thank
for
you.
this chat.
Thank you. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you.